Hey guys, welcome to Vanguard Circle first ever clan analysis video. This is something that you guys like and want more of. I'll gladly do more clan analysis. Today, obviously, we have the Bermuda triangles. And first I just wanted to start by showing you this playmat that I made and had printed at playmatworld.com. Again, I don't know if you watched the other video where I featured a playmat made by them, but they're a great company, they're really reliable, the colors print really well, and I've been nothing but happy with the results of any of the custom playmats I've had done. So this is a Bermuda triangle one that I had done, and I figured I'd show it in this video since that's what we're talking about today. So I want to just jump right in because there's a lot to talk about. Bermuda triangles are a clan consisting of mermaid idols who dominate the seas with their beautiful voices and magical performances. While they may appear to be weak, you shouldn't underestimate their abilities because these babes pack a punch. The main feature of the Bermuda clan is their ability to bounce. For those of you who don't know what that means, bouncing is a term used to describe when a card is returned from the field to the player's hand. Through the bouncing effects, the Bermudas trigger a variety of other effects ranging from increased attack power to drawing cards from your deck. Here are some of the more popular builds found in the Bermuda Triangle clan today. First, we have a build surrounding the unit Velvet Voice Reindeer. This unit's really great, and while I feel like it's lost some of its playability to extremely powerful vanguards whose attack exceed 10k, I still think this deck runs well and is definitely the most affordable of the builds since Reindeer's a common. The main strategy is bouncing cards via Reindeer's effect, which is when you reach your Twin Drive stage. If you reveal a grade 3 Bermuda Triangle Vanguard, you may bounce a card to your hand and call a card from your hand to the field. Now, first things first, if you bounce a unit such as Girls Rock Rio, you'll gain a card in hand, or if you bounce a unit like Prism Promise Celtic, you'll gain 4k to one of your units on the field. As I said before, the variety of units that you have which gain effects when they are bounced leaves you with the ability to choose which way you want your deck to run. If you're low on hand advantage, then bounce Rio for the extra card, or if you need that bit of a push for an attack, then bounce a Celtic or a Clear for the extra 4k. Beyond those effects, we also get what acts as a free stand when Reindeer activates, because you can attack with a rear guard, trigger Reindeer's effect, bounce the rear guard that attacked, and then replay the same rear guard to the field standing. This really makes Reindeer a great card for the variety of things it gives us. One common misconception is that you can bounce a unit to your hand and then call one of the units that you drive checked. You cannot do this, because the units you drive checked aren't in your hand until after the check is over. But that really doesn't matter since you can just recall your same unit that you bounced. Another good card to bounce with Reindeer is Rainbow Light Corinne, who is just a beefier version of Rio. Also, your starting Vanguard should be Waddell, because she just enables you to get that extra bounce in early to keep advantage up. As I said, the downside to this build is the dependence on drive checks and overcoming 11k plus Vanguards, which are becoming more and more widely run as new sets continue to release. If you can get around that, then you'll probably do rather well with this build. The other positive is that it's not limit break based, so you can guard early and get that Reindeer going before you're even near 4 damage and not have to worry about the deck not functioning or having to play a clutch. The second Bermuda build that's pretty popular is Pacifica. This is a newer build due to Eternal Idol Pacifica being released in the Dazzling Divas expansion pack, which came out just this July in America. The deck focuses around Top Idol Pacifica and her cross-ride Eternal Idol Pacifica. The deck is interesting in that it gives the Bermuda clan a new ability to be able to cycle through their deck and maintain a hand with cards that they want. Top Idol Pacifica's effect is that she gets a soul charge once per turn, and with that she can then draw a card and choose a card in her hand and place it at the bottom of the deck. This allows you to cycle through your deck and keep your hand stacked with whatever it is that you may need. In addition, she gains plus 3k when she attacks if you have 4 or more rear guards, which is rather easy to do in a Bermuda deck. She also has a Mega Blast, but you probably won't be ever using that since you want to be using Eternal Idol's Limit Break. Moving on to Eternal Idol Pacifica, she has a base attack of 11k, which puts her right up there with the newer units who are breaking the 10k grade 3 limit that we're used to. In addition, if you ride her over a Top Idol Pacifica, she gains an additional 2k permanently. This means she'll be 13k unit always. That's a lot of power for a Little Mermaid. Her main attraction is her Limit Break. When she activates it for a counterblast of 3, you can choose 2 Bermuda rear guards and return them to your hand to search your deck for any Bermuda unit and call it to a rear guard spot. This makes for a huge turn if you include units such as Rio or Clear Celtics in the deck. You could very easily get 4 attacks, plus 4k, and plus 1 card to hand all in one turn, and even after the turn ends, you'll probably have a great field and great sized hand. Pacifica builds are about survivability and making sure that you are taken care of in regards to hand size and field presence. The downside is that you probably will only activate this effect once per game, so you need to make sure you're maximizing on its effect when you activate it. If you can't bounce 2 units that will give you some effect, then it's better to just wait until you can, because the last thing you want to do is waste the effect. Your starting Vanguard should be Shizuka to help you ensure that you get your Pacificas when you need them most. The third deck that I want to talk about in detail is the Prism build. This deck seems to be the most popular Bermuda build at the moment, with good reason. It's very common for your Vanguard to reach numbers upward of 30k with multiple crits every turn if you're playing the deck right. The main card you'll be running is Prism Promise Labrador. Her limit break gives her plus 10k and plus 1 crit if you call 3 Bermuda Triangle cards with Prism in their name to your field when she declares an attack. Now, it would be difficult to pull this off if it wasn't for her second effect, which allows you to counterblast one Prism unit to bounce a Prism unit back to your hand. With the starting Vanguard being Prism Smile Koro, it only takes 2 counterblasts to bounce 3 units back to your hand before you go in for your attack. So it's very easy to get her effect for Labrador every turn. Not to mention when you first ride her, if she rides on top of a Prism Image Vert, you'll get a free turn of bounce because Vert allows for you to return 2 units to your hand when a unit rides on her, which is 3 if you have Koro on the field, and gives an additional 10k to the Vanguard who is ridden on top of her. This means that the first time your opponent meets Labrador, she'll probably be 31k with 2 crits. That's pretty much forcing the opponent to perfect guard, which is always a good thing for you. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, Vert also gives you a card when a unit rides on top of her, so there's some hand advantage too. The trick with this deck is that it's a sub-clan specific deck. Recently in Vanguard, there have been a lot of introduction to sub-clans, which in this case are the Prism units. So for Labrador's effect to work, you need to call all Prism units to get her counterblast to work, and you need to counterblast Prism units. This means that cards such as Rio and Sedna, which you'll see in a ton of other Bermuda builds, probably won't pop up too much in Prism builds, because of the fact that they don't have Prism in their name, which means they won't synchronize with Labrador's effect. Some people still run Bermudas without Prism in their name in the deck to see and seem to do fine, but I personally don't like risking not being able to use Labrador's effect as much as possible. So I keep my non-Prism units to 10 in this build to assure that I won't be worrying about getting stuck when it comes to main units I want to use. Other decks that might see play in this clan are Aurora Star Coral, which is a newer ride chain introduced in the Dazzling Divas Extra Booster. It actually is another affordable alternative. I personally don't do well with ride chains, so I stayed away from it for the most part, but the grade 3 unit does have a limit break that gives a soul charge, bounce, and plus 5k, which sets it up to hit another level. And when combined with Clear Celtic or Rio, is a nice boost for the player each turn at a small cost of counterblast too. The payment for Clear and Celtic is included in the soul charge effect of Coral, which is nice, because that means as long as you can use the limit break, you can use the Celtic Clear without worrying of running out of soul. Again, my issue with the deck is the ride chain, which I find to be not so outstanding, but it's definitely a viable option. Another deck is Riviere, but to be honest, I don't think anyone's really running that ride chain anymore. It was pretty much the introductory build for Bermudas, but I don't find the effects to be that amazing since they're dependent on hits and Persona Blast to activate, and they don't really give that much of a benefit even if it does activate. The last deck that I want to mention is a build based on Bermuda Princess Lena. She's an interesting Vanguard and actually is great for a turn. When she's placed on the Vanguard circle, you return all your units to your hand. As we've discussed, the Bermudas love to bounce. Been waiting to say that this whole video. Which means that you'll probably activate a ton of effects when Lena hits the Vanguard circle. She also gets plus 3k when she attacks if you have 4 or more Bermuda rear guards, which means that she'll be attacking for 13k on her own, which is a great number because it'll hit any Vanguard your opponent has. The downside is that she has a one-time deal, so I'd recommend using her in addition to another deck as a bonus, as opposed to really focusing a deck around her as your primary Vanguard. So that about sums up the Bermuda Triangle clan analysis. I could talk even longer about the other units available, but I wanted to really just focus on the main deck builds and the primary Vanguards that you're going to be working with if you take the dive and begin playing the Bermuda Triangle clan. So that's all for the first analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.